All right, welcome everybody. Another day, another sell-off that's taking place in the markets again. I do Alfred E. Newman. What me worry? There's no buyers. There's just no buyers. There's nobody. You can't catch a bid at this point in time. Can't get at times like this. I always get the question, well, when is it going to stop? Well, when the buyers come back. When things get a little bit oversold, when some of the uncertainty goes away, which is fine. It's not a big deal. Again, for long-term investors, yeah, you look to accumulate. I often talk about dollar cost averaging. You take the guesswork out of things. What am I mean taking the guesswork out of it? Every single month you have a day. You have a day where you're putting money into your qualified plans. You're paying yourself monthly, and you bear no mind. You bear no mind what's happening at the markets at any point in time, because again, you don't know. You don't know when things are going to turn. And that strategy, dollar cost averaging, putting money away in high quality companies on a regular basis, works every single time it's tried. I will talk a little bit greater length this weekend on the radio show, talking about what my thoughts are for the overall market moving forward. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. Is it possible that we hit the June lows and go through? Abso-freaking-lutely it is. But it's just as possible that the jobs number can come out tomorrow and be weak, and all of a sudden sentiment shifts in the opposite direction. You know what? I want to talk a little bit about that. This is part of the conventional wisdom, the grand conspiracy to keep people poor and stupid. The idea out there that we need to blow the economy up. That's right. We need to see weak jobs. I've never understood this. It is conventional wisdom amongst many economists, and I just don't see it. I don't think wages are the issue. Yeah, it's a cost. It's a cost for businesses out there, but it's a cost that businesses can deal with, and they have. Now, granted, obviously there's a worker shortage. When was the last time you went into a Best Buy? When was the last time you went into a Home Depot? No, they don't nearly have the volume of workers that they used to have. Some of it might be to the fact that they just can't find the workers. Another reason might be saying, hey, you know what? Your labor costs are too high at this point in time. We're going to have to cut back. Hey, how often do you see self-checkout lines? They're everywhere. That's a way that businesses can deal with higher labor costs when they get out of control. You can deal with that. That's something that you can plan for. There's things that you can do to adjust for that. Very little you can do when it comes to other things like energy. You can't. I mean, everything you buy or that you have to purchase for your business involves energy. There's only, sure, you can become more efficient. You can put some insulation in some of your facilities, whatever it may be, but it's limited. And quite frankly, the Fed can't do a damn thing about that. Anyway, story as well. NVDA, the chip maker, stock's getting beat up big time, and along with the other chip makers right now. The Biden administration installed new license requirements for certain chips. And the sales, you got to get a special license if you want to sell these new integrated chips for servers, if you're going to go to China or Russia. NVIDIA doesn't have any contracts with Russia, but just out of curiosity, this would be my question. Again, I'm not a journalist. I don't have access to these people in Washington, D.C. If you're selling a consumer product, we live in a world where it's pretty easy to get your hands on just about anything, right? You think China's going to have a difficult time? Let's say if we're making a server that has these A100 and H100 chips, and these servers are sold to Italy. Do you think that the Chinese are going to have a difficult time getting their hands on that chip if it's sold for any sort of consumer use, business use? No. It's not like top secret technology, for crying out loud. You can get your hands on it. That's what the Chinese do. They get their hands on shit and they copy it. So I'm trying to see how this is going to help in any way, shape, matter, or form. This is just stupidity. This is part of how the left, and they use the Jedi mind trick. These are not the droids you're looking for. They just say things which are just, I listen to them and I'm like, do you understand how stupid that sounds? Yeah. There's a White House officials say President Biden's decision to cancel between $10,000 and $20,000 in student debt for millions of Americans is fully paid for. Wait for it, because of a drop in the federal deficit. That's an argument that suggests the full cost of the policy will just be what? Pile it on our national debt. Pile on it. You got one of these just morons within the Biden administration. This is Bharat Ramamurthy, Deputy Director of the National Economic Council. He said we're on track for $1.77 trillion in deficit reduction this year. Deficit. There's a difference between deficit spending and the national debt. The deficit is down. Why? All this COVID relief stuff has gone away. Just because the deficit has dropped, does that mean that we're running in the black as a nation? No flipping way. No. The entire argument, again, it hurts your head. It's so stupid, but it's just who these people are. You can't be. There's no in between. Either you're a freaking liar or you're an idiot. Okay? Reducing deficit spending doesn't reduce debt. Just doesn't work that way. Okay? Anyway, I saw this story and I looked it up because I couldn't remember the year. 1765 was the year the Brits put in place the Quartering Act. That was one of the things that the Brits did that led to the Revolutionary War, the Stamp Act and the Quartering Act. What was the Quartering Act? Remember? Come on. History buffs out there. Got to remember this stuff. Well, basically, it forced the colonists to provide barracks for British soldiers, standing army here in America, the colonies. And if they didn't have barracks, they had to put them up in their homes and provide food and wash the clothes and bedding and do all of those things. That was what the rule said. What's interesting as well is the colonists were getting taxed. And they had to spend this money on the Brits with after taxes. Wasn't like they had a tax write-off for the money that they had to spend quartering British soldiers. So yeah, it ticked the colonists off. And it helped lead to the American Revolution. Well, the city of Los Angeles is basically putting their own Quartering Act into effect. I'm not making this up. Activists estimate there are about 60,000 homeless in Los Angeles with about 20,000 nightly vacant rooms in hotels. So the union activists in Los Angeles have collected enough signatures to take action. Basically, what they want to do is they want to utilize vacant hotel rooms. Yeah. Each hotel shall communicate to the department or its designee in a form that the department prescribes by 2 p.m. each day the number of available rooms at the hotel for the night. The department shall develop a program for paying a fair market rate or such other rate as the department may negotiate with the hotel for vacant hotel guest rooms on behalf of unhoused individuals and families. It shall be unlawful to refuse to provide lodging to an individual or family seeking accommodations using the program. civil penalties of $500 for each day that each individual or family was unlawfully denied lodging. Family. They're making out to be a family thing. So, you're going on vacation in Los Angeles and you're checking into, I don't know, the W, Westin. And there's empty rooms at the hotel. And all of a sudden, they're going to start bringing in people who live on the streets and don't think, well, I don't have compassion for these people, but throwing them into a luxury hotel room. Do you think that's going to be good for business for the hotel? Do you think that's going to attract tourists to Los Angeles to stay at their hotels? This is not heartless. I think that you should try to help them out as best you possibly can. But again, we've talked about this in terms of mental health and other issues and drugs, by basically putting in your own quartering act and forcing a business owner to house people. Oh, I know you're going to give them money. Right, sure. I'm sure you're going to be paying that $800-900 a night rate that they're charging at one of those hotels. And again, is there any provisions here? What if somebody damages the room? I check into a hotel, we raid the minibar, or, somebody decides to, act like Led Zeppelin back in 1972 in one of the hotel rooms. You're going to pay for it. Who's going to pay for it if the room gets trashed? Hey, you couldn't make this stuff up if you wanted to. Well, again, we'll stay in Los Angeles here. LA County is launching a $1,000 per month universal basic income program. More than 180,000 Los Angeles County residents applied for payouts. 1,000 residents are getting $1,000 a month. Again, what involved in this application process? I mean, think about this for a second. I mean, it's looking harder to get this $1,000 a month than it is to get into Harvard, for crying out loud, if you take a look at the numbers. But anyway, did they make you fill out an essay or something like that? You have to show your SAT scores. But look at these numbers. I have 59. If you're single, you could qualify for $1,000 a month if you make $56,000 a year. Single. A family of four, $96,000 a year. You can get your government money. Again, they're saying this is going to help people out and get to the next level. What's going to happen when the program ends? What's going to happen? I'm just asking here. And yeah, listen, there's been programs like this done. I don't know who's funding this, quite frankly. Maybe it's the government that's funding. I don't know. There's been programs that have been tried like this. Private groups. Hey, you're a private citizen, private group. You want to give money away to people, that's your choice. I just don't see how taking taxpayers' money and doing something like this is going to be effective in any way, shape, matter, or form. In fact, we did a story on this not too long ago here, talking about various different areas that have tried the universal basic income, and it's done zip, zero, zilch, nada, nothing to help at all. Okay, again, this is another, and again, I don't like I told you so moments. I don't, because more often than not, I predict bad shit. I see bad shit. I mean, it's like the kid from Sixth Sense there. I see dead people. I see bad things. I see unintended consequences. That's what I see. Now we go back to COVID and the shutdowns for schools and the remote learning and the canceling of tests and all of this crap where they dumbed down an entire year, and in some cases, an entire year and a half of school. I said this is not going to end well. You're doing it wrong. Fourth grade scores. Worst reading, math declines in decades. They're saying it could take a generation for the scores to rebound. A generation. You know, I was so pissed off about this. I really was, because I saw how shitty. I'm pissed off. You know, I'm like, I want my kids to do well. My youngest one hated the online stuff. The other kids dealt with it, but it was horseshit was what it was. And then they're not taking final exams, and then they're excused from the state tests. We're canceling this. And I'm like, how is this helpful? It is important. They do need to learn this stuff if they want to go on and excel. But no. That's big education here in this country. They didn't give a flying you-know-what about those kids. It was just pass them on through, on to the next group. If you're going to shut down the schools like you did, you know what you should have did? You should have done a reset. That's right. Everybody repeats a grade. You do the whole grade over again. If you're doing that, what you're saying is what you're teaching is not that important in the first place. What's most important is getting them out the door. And unfortunately, that's the way education works here in this country. It does. It's shameful. A generation to get back? You should have, you know what? You could have said, you know what? Mandatory summer school. Everybody's got to catch up. This stuff's important. But no, of course not. Of course not. Get them out. Again, we got to appease the frickin' teachers unions. If I find this podcast said, you know what, because again, we work at Markowski Investment, manage people's money, depending upon the account, the size of the account, the amount of work that's involved in the account, what somebody's doing. We charge a fee for our services based upon the assets that we manage. It's how we do things. What if I were to come on the program? How do you think it would translate in the mainstream media if I came on the program and I said that we're reducing our fees? Again, I'm half Italian, half Polish. We're reducing our fees for all people of Italian and Polish heritage by 50%. How do you think that would fly? I mean, oh boy, I'd be canceled. And of course, it's wrong. Well, Bank of America has announced a zero down payment, zero closing costs mortgages for Black and Hispanic first-time buyers, and they don't have to pay any mortgage insurance. Again, I know I got a lot of attorneys that listen to this program, and I kind of love to study some of the constitutional law and cases from time to time, and some of the reading and stuff that I do. How is this legal? How in the world is this legal? I don't know. Good column, actually. Well done column, Wall Street Journal. Interesting how Starbucks is basically trying to improve its business and the things that they're doing to become more efficient. And it's fascinating. Howard Schultz is coming back in and how they're taking a look at the ease of making certain products. This is things, quite frankly, that they probably should have done a while ago. I mean, Howard Schultz just came back. If I was running the company, it's one of the things that I would do. Let me give you an example. All my lacrosse journeys, I feel oftentimes I spend most of my summers on the New Jersey Turnpike. Anyway, sometimes I'm a little tired. You got to pull off to a rest area. I want to grab myself a cold brew in the summer, cup of coffee, go inside, and the line for Starbucks is a bloody mile long. And I'm like, I'm not waiting here. I got to get back on the road. I want to get home. So then I end up settling for, a sugar-free Red Bull. But I'm saying to myself, this is not being handled properly. How many people like me are just saying, you know what, I'm not gonna bother. I don't want to wait. I always found that you watch when they're making the steps involved with making a Frappuccino. And again, they go over it in this article. It's fascinating where the workers have to step and what they have to do. And quite frankly, they need to streamline that. It takes too damn long. In fact, if they brought up I think they started the Frappuccino, if I remember from the column in 1995. And I know it's a popular item. I would have done a cost benefit analysis based upon the time it takes to make that drink. And I might have said, you know what? It takes too long. It takes too long. You go to even one of those fancy cocktail bars where they're charging, $18, $20 for a drink, and the bartender's got to do a myriad of steps. Still, everything's right there, and he can do it fairly quickly. Some of those drinks take upwards of a minute to make each one. They try to get them under, 50, right around the 50-second mark. They're going to have to change some of that, but it's kind of fascinating, and it's a good read. You want to check it out. Title of the column: Starbucks is rethinking almost everything, including how to make frappuccinos. Damn straight. But to be honest, I don't really like Starbucks coffee. I don't. Anyway, they're all getting that. The New York's ticked off. Mayor Adams in New York, Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, pissed off at Greg Abbott, Texas, because he's busing all of the illegals that are allowed to cross the border. Unvaxxed, by the way. And unvaxxed, can't let tennis players come play at the U.S. Open if they're unvaxxed, but illegals can come in. And they're being bused to New York, and they're being bused to Chicago. And of course, they're racist in Texas and all this stuff. But you guys are sanctuary cities. You declared it. You did declare and did decree. And the funny thing is in New York is that they brag about how, we're going to be able to handle it. It is a boondoggle. It is an absolute disaster. There's a lot of hope for this Mayor Adams coming in. Sorry, I know I'll probably get called out. You can't call him that. You're racist. No, he's a clown. He's a clown. He really is. He's more concerned with his image and hanging out at the right night spots in New York City than he is actually making the place any better. I mean, you take a look at the persistent violence that occurs on a regular basis there. Like I said, we used to go into the city all the time before the crime stuff really got out of control. And it was getting bad prior to COVID. Now it's patently absurd. I'm not going in there unless I can, I get my carry permit, and I don't have one for the city of New York. Just not. It's one story after another, one bit of nonsense after another. And not to mention the fact, and again, it makes me sad, embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I used to live there. I love the place. Lived there for 10 years. Garbage everywhere. I couldn't do it. If I'm mayor of New York, and you got to drive through the city, and you see the filth, and you see I ain't care if I got to pick up the garbage myself and lead as an example. It's gross. Anyway, we'll have fun with this one. What was it, last week? Last week when California announced that they are banning the sale of gasoline-powered automobiles by 2035, state of California. Well, guess what? They just told everybody, they told all the people who own EVs to stop charging them. Yes, please stop charging your car. The grid is going to go down. Now, I don't know if that's going to stop it. I mean, people are going to listen. You got to use your car the next day. You're going to be like, screw that. I'm charging it. At what point in time, and again, they'll do it. At what point in time are they going to be able to track your car, and they will be able to figure out whether or not you're charging it? And then you can be persona non grata, and they send some government official to your house and fine you for charging your car when you're not supposed to charge your car. You can't make this stuff up. They banned the sale of electric cars 2035. Announced that. I do decree last week. This week, they're telling people with electric cars, please don't plug your car in. The grid is going to fail. Watchdog on wallstreet.com. Watchdog on wallstreet.com. Have a great day, everybody.